I like this album.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think that's the real answer.
I mean, there are a few songs that are meh, but I mean, overall, the album's good.
Alright.
Alright, let's get into it.
So, Fandom by Waterparks came out last year.
Yeah.
I have the transparent green.
Nice.
And I have the deluxe CD right here, and I have the normal CD, who knows where.
Somewhere.
It's a pretty good album. Now,
Yes.
let's just dive straight into first impressions.
Okay, first impressions. This album is, I find it really unique because, as we talked about in our last video, it does the thing that Green Day should have done with their album. It takes concepts from certain songs and like it plays around with those concepts, and I find that really interesting.
It plays with them a lot more.
Yeah, it really expands them in interesting ways, and ways that like you can tell when something is being like messed with, but it doesn't feel repetitive.
Honestly, I completely agree. When I first listened to this, I was very skeptical. Because from the album art, I didn't know this was going to be a rock album, honestly.
It looks really like, I don't even know what to think.
It looks very modern, but at the same time...
It looks very modern, but it doesn't look
when you know it's by
pop.
a rock band, you can see where they're making it come from. It's very interesting, but it looks amazing.
That's some nice art.
Yeah. Now, let's just dive right into tracks, because there's a lot more.
We're doing a lot of diving today. Okay.
Cherry Red.
Okay, this song slams you in the face at the beginning.
It's like...
Yeah, it just... It's a rockin' way to start off the album. It's kind of crazy. It just
like, Cherry Red. Die for you. Then it just maintains it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden just dies. And then you want to say anything more about this?
You say.
Well, before we jump into the next part about this, let's rank it. Actually, yeah, there's not a lot. It's a really short song.
But I'm just gonna rank it 8 out of 10 overall, just because I really do like how it just really gets you hyped up for the entire thing. It just slaps you in the face. This is what we're doing. This is how we're gonna do it.
Overall, I agree. It's an 8 out of 10. It's very solid. It's amazing. Now for Waterparks.
For Waterparks, and all I'm really gonna do is compare it to this album in and of itself. I'm gonna pretty much just give it the same ranking, but slightly lower. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Just because it's a good introduction, but it's just a tad bit short, so...
Honestly, since I'm huge into Waterparks, I know, like, their whole discography. It's really solid. It's Waterparks. It's a good 7 out of 10, like you said. It's a bit short, but as I'm about to say, jumping into Watch What Happens Next, the second track, it cuts away with Cherry Red, and all of a sudden it starts. All of a sudden you hear the guitar riff just comes out, and it's like, it's really interesting.
So, moving straight into the second one, just wanting to touch briefly on that transition, which I really like to pay attention from transitions to song, and if they overlap slightly, I really enjoy stuff like that. While there isn't anything quite like that, it does have a pretty nice transition, and I do want to point out and appreciate that fact.
It feels like the last song, Cherry Red, did its job. It was an introduction. It threw you. It's like, here's what this is going to sound like. This is the kind of stuff we're using this time around. Then all of a sudden it's like, alright, goodbye. And it starts rising back up again, and all of a sudden they hit you with the first actual, like, track of the song.
This is where the album really starts starting.
Yeah, like, Cherry Red is like that introduction song. It's like giving you the rundown. It's like what the first 2 tracks of My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade was. Like, The End and Dead. Like, it gave you a rundown. It kicked it off, really. And then you get into, like, the actual...
Yes, which this song... I really like too. This one is pretty much on the same level as Cherry Red, but it's a little longer, so I got to really appreciate more of the finer aspects.
It's very padded out very evenly and very nicely.
Yeah.
And I love the climax at the end where he just starts hitting notes. It works very well. This is definitely a bop to listen to.
It really is.
It hypes you up.
This is definitely a song you don't want to miss because there's like, it's very in your face, but there's a lot to. In my opinion, there's a lot more to take in. So you gotta, if you really want to get into it, you gotta listen to it a couple of times to make sure you catch everything.
Here's the common thing on this album: they're using a lot of background noise. Like,
absolutely.
The more you listen to it, the more you're gonna realize like they have like they have a synthesizer. Oh, they have, because in the chorus of Watch What Happens Next, do you know that there's a higher thing going the opposite of the guitars?
No.
It's really interesting.
It's like watching.
It's a synthesizer. It's going like higher. It goes high when he goes low. It's really, really cool. Yeah. And the guitars, like you'll notice, like it sounds like it's one chord the whole time, but really it's one chord for most of it, and then he jumps up and then he goes down.
Interesting.
And during the bridge, he goes down an octave with his riff.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, you like hear more like drum beats because they use drum machines in this album a lot more. It's really nice. The lyrics are very intelligible. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's not to the point where it's like not understandable. You get the entire theme of the.
He's just basically saying, "Watch what we do next, because this is what you guys want."
And moving into the next. Oh wait, we gotta rate this first. So.
Yeah.
But I do like this song, but it seemed like it. In my opinion, it just kind of like it was a transition, but lengthened out into a song. I did enjoy it, but it seemed almost unnecessary, which sounds weird, but like I was a little iffy on it. Well, as an isolated song, I would rate it overall as just like an 8 out of 10, an amazing song. But in terms of the album, I would surprisingly rate it a lot lower, just because I felt like it. I don't know. It kind of screwed with me. It seemed to be.
For the transition part on me, I really appreciate like Cherry Red and everything, but let's say like that song didn't exist and they just kicked it off with What Happens Next, it would still kick it off just as well. But the Cherry Red does give like a good explanation of what this album is about. It's about the fandom and everything about it. It's really interesting. But honestly, rating wise, overall, as a song, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10, and in the context of the album and the band, I'm going to give it a 7.
I would rate it slightly lower in context of the album at 6.
There. Now jumping into Dream Boy.
Now, this song I do enjoy because this is where they start, like, this is the first song that I actually, like, get to play around with stuff, because I do hear in later songs that some of the ideas that they use in this song, they use certain aspects in other aspects of the song, but this song overall is still really great, and I don't think that while the alterations would add to the song, I feel like the song itself wouldn't need to be altered. It flows together really well.
For me, Dream Boy is another just like bop to listen to.
Absolutely.
It's definitely like showing like the other side of this like gap they have. Like they have the like hitter rock, and they try a couple more times with like Telephone and stuff. But they have like this more like traveling into like different territory, like the uni-genre that is coming out, like where it's like everything's mixed together, but they're still rocking. It really works with what they're trying to do. People aren't a big fan of auto-tune, but the way he does it, even if you don't like it, if you try a cover on your own, it would probably be easy to replicate on a guitar, since it is auto-tuned to the point where it's like you could barely tell the lyrics anyways.
Yeah.
Plus, it comes right after the chorus, so...
Yeah, so it's almost...
It's replicating the chorus, but...
It's not unnecessary, but it's not something that would truly, like, would affect the song.
Yeah, if it wasn't there, if it just cut to this second verse, I would have been perfectly fine either way. Both ways, it's great.
Mhm.
And the song does like have a good like momentum throughout.
Yeah.
It keeps the momentum from the past two songs. It really keeps it.
Mhm. Just rating this song, I pretty much give it the same rating for in the context of album and in the context of a normal song, at a solid 7. I do like it, but there are certain things that like it just doesn't push it completely over the edge as one of like the real hitters of the album.
You want to jump into the next one?
Oh yeah. This next song, which I'm totally blanking on, is I really enjoyed it. It like it played with some of the concepts of the last song. It ventured into what the last album we reviewed was lacking in, and that's exploration of concepts that
like,
could have been explored more.
Exploring on that. Dream Boy was like what Green Day did with their songs. Like they introduced stuff, but the rest of the album actually takes like more synthesizers and like takes all these extra sounds that aren't necessary, but definitely like help expand to it. It's like, let's think about 21 Pilots and like Blurryface and Trench. In general, 21 Pilots, they have lots of background instruments that I don't know if I've never been to a 21 Pilots show, but I'm pretty sure they might not do all of them. Yeah. They might have a backing track, but they definitely do not do any of it live.
Exactly.
But they add a lot more like backing to it. Like it's a rock album. At the same time, it has all those extra elements that make it stand out more.
Yeah.
And Easy to Hate is a great example of this. It expands on what Dream Boy did. It starts out with a clean guitar riff instead of like going all distorted, and it saves it from like the rest of the song. And it has a pretty decent guitar solo. Not one of my favorites off this album.
Yeah.
We'll get to that one pretty soon. But overall, its overall score is a good, decent 6 out of 10, and for the band, 5.5. It's very average in the context of their other music, and for this album, it's not bad by all means, but it's definitely on the slightly better half of average.
I agree with you in the context of the album, but as an overall song, I would rate it a little bit higher at like 7, just because I do that tone of song. I appreciate it, and I usually put a few of those into my playlist just to keep that sort of tone, and I appreciate those songs because I like to have different tones and vibes, so when I put stuff on shuffle, I don't know what I'm gonna get, and I like the mix up.
Yeah. So the next song, High Definition. I know you like this one.
This one is pretty
This one is, since Easy to Hate was slowing it down a little bit but keeping the momentum, this one, unlike on Father of All, it sort of keeps it, because like there's not many instruments. It's not like, it's just like, it doesn't come out of nowhere either. It's like there's been so much build up. Here's how it works sometimes. Like when you have that much build up, either you go higher or you hit your climax, or you just let it drop naturally. Yeah. And this is one of the times where like it drops naturally and it feels good. Yeah.
But for a good point in the song, it kind of plateaus that momentum so that it's not just that instant drop, and it's not that jarring transition that
that's why
I couldn't understand in the last album we reviewed. It just, this sort of transition for momentum wise is just, I applaud it.
I think they hit the climax with the ending of the first side, which is Turbulent.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
But on its own, High Definition overall, there's not much to say about it. It's like, it's mostly a vocal song.
It truly is.
It's got some like drum beats and stuff, but it's mostly like a vocal heavy, and Austin's singing he has a nice voice, so it's nice, it's soft in this one. He's just talking in the beginning, and then like more instruments get added, and he starts feeling more aggressive, but he doesn't let that energy out. Yeah. Overall, this song's a good 8 out of 10. It's definitely one of the favorites. For the band's context, I'm going to put it a little bit lower at 7 because they've done slower songs better, but in this context, it still holds up very, very well.
And in my opinion, I'm putting this song at an overall 9 just because of some personal bias. I really love this song. It's simple, but it's a good kind of simple. But in the context of the album, I'm gonna agree with you on a solid 7.
Next one is Telephone. Telephone's it brings up that momentum. It keeps at the plateau though. Like it brings up a little bit and lets it run. It's very nice because it's like fast, it's happy, and it's like completely cheery lyrics, but like not like insanely cheery, like let's say Weezer's Specific Daydream.
Yeah.
It's realistic still because it's like he wants to like start a life with this person, but he's still like he's making plans about it though. He's not like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna like get married and all this. He's like talking about like how he would like to meet the parents and everything.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the greatest guitar solo off this album is. At the ending, it's hitting its climax for the song.
Yeah.
And it's where it brings it up, and then we get another comfortable drop with the next, I'd say more interlude of a track, but we'll get to that in just a second. But
on the topic of that, I do agree that guitar solo at the climax of the song it's very good, and I can see why you like it so much, but I feel like they could have done more momentum-wise, and while the drop is almost negligible on their way to the next song, I feel like that the transition could have been played around with a little more at the very end of the song. I do enjoy it for like the same reasons you have said, but just because I'm stingy with transitions, that just puts it slightly lower in my book.
What do you rate this?
I rate this as an overall song at about an 8, and probably the same in the album.
I completely agree. For the next one, we're gonna do Group Chat and Turbulent because they're really connected when you think about it. Like it has an uncomfortable drop in my opinion, where it doesn't like completely stop it, but it's definitely like saying, "Hey, get ready." It's like getting you ready because it's like saying all the band names. All of a sudden, Austin's voice is like super distorted. And all of a sudden, it wastes no time. It doesn't have like that. It's just straight into Turbulent.
And I gotta say, the fault for the slight drop, I feel, lands on the songs before and not in the transition into Group Chat and Turbulent.
Now, speaking of into Turbulent and Turbulent in general, the transition at first, it doesn't waste time. In fact,
really doesn't.
The song Group Chat is the transition.
Yeah.
It's getting you to that highest point of the album. It's getting you to that high climax of the whole thing. It's like getting you ready. It's like my name's Jeff, and then Austin's voice is distorted, and it's like we're all friends, and it just hits the distorted guitar, and all of a sudden it drops and it gets right into it. The Turbulent, it starts out slow, and he starts listing off lyrics, and all of a sudden, boom, bass drop, the drum beats come in, and it's going fast, and then the chorus is so memorable. It is stuck in your head. It's really nice.
Yeah, and I just want to point out on Group Chat, I do somewhat appreciate the transition, but I feel like I would almost just skip it if I were listening straight through, or not straight through, if I were like shuffling an album, just because it's so negligible on its own. But I do, in this terms of the album, appreciate it. It's just,
it's good if
it slightly lowers my opinion on it if like as an individual song, which I almost feel it's not appropriate to rate it as an individual one, just because it's meant to be played into that. But I just can't get over the. I mean, I feel like music should be meant to be played on its own and in the part of something, but I feel like this is an okay exception to that rule.
It falls into an interlude for me, because interludes are meant to be like, it's obviously a separate track because while this one isn't too long to fit into the track, it would definitely ruin the flow of Turbulent on its own. Because it already starts pretty slow.
Exactly.
But it starts at the right kind of slow. This would just ruin the song on its own, which I see why they separated it. It 100% makes sense. But yeah, it definitely falls into that category.
So, I'm not going to rate it overall, but just in terms of the album, I don't
think I'm going to give an official rating on group chat. I'm just going to say it's alright. It's good if you're listening through the context. Like, if you're listening through, like, the record where you can't skip, or if you're just not skipping at all, you're just listening through the album, it's not a skip. But, like, if you have a playlist, it's not something don't put it in there. It's gonna be awkward when you're like at school or something, and all of a sudden your group chat just comes up and you're just like,
wow.
Here's 30 seconds. But
don't waste your 6 skips on that.
Unless you have premium.
I'm poor.
Okay, but Turbulent. What's your rating?
I'm gonna give it I know this is gonna be a little bit surprising, but I'm gonna give it a straight down the middle 5 out of 10 and 5 out of 10. I feel strongly about it, but at the same time I don't. So I don't want to say anything too committal, but at the same time I like the song, but I don't vibe with it. That's the best way I can put it.
I vibe with it heavily. I'm like complete opposite of you over here.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. Both ways you can put it. It's definitely a song where if it comes up in my playlist, I'm gonna jam to it, no matter where I am. And then like if it comes up through the album, like it has that build up through all these songs to get to that last song of the side. It's like what I was a teenager tried to do.
Yeah. I can see that.
But it actually did it really well. And it doesn't have any crazy guitar solos. It doesn't try anything nuts. And it has an actual outro, too. It basically is meant to be like the climax of the album. It's supposed to be like, we've been talking about all these separate little things, and here he is talking about separate things, but at the same time it's going off the context of everything else. And instrument-wise, everything comes in when it needs to be.
Yeah. I can get that.